The universe cluster. The universe is only observable because you can't see it in its totality, and you can't see it until it can be observed. A flat universe is infinite because you can never reach the end. Yet, a round universe is not observable in its totality because you can never observe what lies around its curvature. But a three-dimensional universe has physical solidity and orbital trek, therefore its mass and volume reach far further evolutionally. The expansion of the universe is measured by the increase in distance between any two given gravitationally unbound parts like galaxies and are observable over time. It is an intrinsic expansion whereby the scale of space itself changes. The universe does not expand into anything and does not require space to exist outside it. It is an intrinsic expansion whereby the scale of space itself changes. The problem with an expanding universe is set in parts. 1. Increase of distance. 2. The scale of space. 3. The universe does not expand into anything. These three parts are gravitational unbound parts that lead us to believe the expanding universe is not expanding when in reality it is. It also implies that it does not require space to be outside of it or need space to exist at all. The expansion theory of an intrinsic universe, in short, is that it is nonsense. The universe isn't expanding into anything, and it's just expanding. Either the universe is infinite, going on forever, or it's finite, with a limited volume. The expansion theory does not need space to exist, meaning that it is expanding all and of itself, possibly as a cluster. But such a theory tells us that a Big Bang beginning could not be true because from the universe's primeval size mass expansion, because it is in continuous expansion over time. It also declares itself as a singularity. It may not be actually expanding but only gaining mass from its interior that makes it seem it is expanding at a given rate of time. Points given. The universe is expanding in both or in all the explanations, but its expansion is illustrating to us that it's physically getting larger and larger. This in itself tells us it's taking in space. Therefore, space should be one of its characteristics. Taking in space, the universe is evolving inside something even if it illustrates its mass is what is expanding. From a concentrated state, its mass is expanding, filling out what is concentrated, causing space to expand into becoming larger. It is taking up more space as it expands from its outside perimeters. Freely given, the expanding universe is expanding into something believed to be empty space, a place absent of any type of universe cluster. Based on these perimeters and without the Big Bang, space cannot be warped or its mass flexible. These explanations cannot exist in an intrinsic expansion theory if it freely expands by itself. Matter does not exist in space, therefore space can exist in matter. The universe is freely bound and made up of three parts. 1. A concentrated mass. 2. Matter. 3. Remedy for expansion. The universe is expanding into an area of space or empty vacuum unbound with matter, where matter is an element in itself made up of mass and energy and resides outside of it. The expansions sit in empty space where the gravitations of these two parts are physical opposites. In a closed universe or intrinsic expansion, these two gravitational parts cannot exist, canceling each other out. If they were to, there would be no expansion. Matter neither is not expanding nor its energy, nor are they gravitational parts. The concentrated space expands instantaneously in all directions, pushing away matter, eliminating itself out from its own concentration. Therefore, matter does not exist inside an intrinsic expansion. Its expansion, or concentrated mass space, will finally cease over time and the universe will collapse. What holds the planets, stars, and galaxies in their path will also cease over time. Matter will not resume, and all matter will fall out of orbit in the final hours and fall down in totality throughout the cosmos until the collective resumes into a new path of totality, reforming all matter into a new singularity. All the matter in the universe will then assume to rebuild singular mass. Was the universe created by a Big Bang, or like an egg becoming hatched, slowly cracking as the inside matter evolves due to expansion? It's a very hard question to answer about our universe. But like Socrates and Plato, the creation of the planets and stars are viewed as an awakening of common activities. Like a chicken's egg is hatched or any egg, and like the physicists believe the awake of the Big Bang. Was it a Big Bang at all? We can only speculate what happened billions of years ago. How long the universe took to evolve into what we see it today. How long its age is determined by. Are the earliest stages of the universe's creation as a singularity all a part of the process as a whole? We do know that time is fixed. This means that time, the velocity of light, and all matter, planetary or cosmological, even background radiation, is fixed. It all made up of measuring components called alpha-beta waves. These waves and subatomic particles venture forwards and backwards in a straight line amongst each other. They cancel each other out. Chunks of matter made up of energy reviewed as its energy mass are all made up of a limited atomic component that doesn't change. All matter is conciliated as a mass which existence is fixed and doesn't change. Depending on the density of the gravitation it exists with, matter can sustain its conservation of energy but cannot exceed the speed of light. Albert Einstein was correct when he viewed matter as energy mass and discovered the most dense matter existing would promote the creation of an atomic bomb. Why he could not see this when he developed time travel, the inability to surpass the velocity of light, that if possible would allow time travel into the future and or the past. He ventured bending and manipulating dark matter space as an inventive way to do so. But living in a universe that is expanding almost makes time travel in his view impossible. Also in my view, when we look at the trial and error of taking on the universe creation that lies beyond the creation magnitude of shaping planetary matter throughout the cosmos. So, you might ask, is time travel possible? I think not when we review the concepts that the deity that the universe was created by stands beyond the light constant of the matter it generated in the first place. That such an action would mean catching up with the universe expansion, which is greater and space that a primeval cosmic egg was hatched by. Time travel viewed in this way means regenerating or entering a stage of early creation to change that which was already created, the bending space into a wormhole stargate that pushes energy and mass away from it as we view it in Hubble law. Godspeed is an acknowledgement of God's generosity and blessing. Speed in this sense was the righteous acquisition of wealth and property through hard work and reverent behavior. Translators of the Holy Bible use the term Godspeed in several passages, primarily in the Old Testament, to indicate a God-inspired prosperity. This would suggest two separate evolutions of the expression, based on two different translations of the word speed. To wish someone Godspeed would be to wish him or her prosperous journey or successful endeavor, while to wish someone good speed would suggest a swift and safe trip. The foundation of this book is characterized on the evidence about the gravity force that asserts its singularity as being a strand of the four forces in modern physics. This divine title in modern physics that characterizes it as a single force bears its uniqueness. Is gravity actually an independent force of itself? In this study you are about to learn exactly what gravity is and how it works, a statement in modern physics that has never been stated in the centuries of the study. It is important to understand that you are reading a new theory on gravitation, that is a remake in correcting the status of what is called in modern physics as the gravity force. Established in the early English era, the force that acted on moving bodies was first researched in Aristotelian's era, where the theory of gravity was a theory that stated that all bodies move towards their natural place. For some objects, Aristotle claimed the natural place to be the center of the earth, today also known as the center of mass and or center of gravity. Aristotle's theory was superseded by the work of Galileo in Europe according to legend, and now a new predecessor has discovered a new incorrect summary in the Newton theory on gravity. What is gravity? This is a question physicists have been trying to answer for decades. Physicists like Maxwell Planck, Albert Einstein, Galileo and even Isaac Newton, whom is the author of Gravity, to name a few, and all have no real answer. What we do know about gravitation is that it is the invisible force that actually calculates how, why and the velocity an object falls after some external force moves it from its rest state. Over the centuries, physicists have tried to visualize what exactly this invisible force called gravity is. The results were null. Even though physicists have been able to answer the questions of what gravity does, thought to be a particle wave, its chemistry is still unknown to us, at least till now. How it works and why. Rodney Kovatsky, physicists whom studied the sciences involved in classical and modern physics, spent 15 years just trying to answer these confusing questions about the universe and its invisible forces we see in action every day. Having done so, he believes he has physically enabled the most resourceful definition to what gravity actually is and how it works under that definition. Even though his theory does not change the mathematics in any of the gravity theories that have accumulated over the years, it does illustrate a new design relative to gravity itself, thus defining its chemistry. Some physicists have tried to answer the question about gravitation with the idea that it is some type of single molecule or particle, namely like what's called a graviton particle, that is endowment to be discovered before it can be a completed theory. Kovatsky has gone beyond these ideas. He does not agree with He believes we already know what gravity is by its display and its measurements, as Isaac Newton explains in his theories about it. But Kovatsky reaches a little bit further into the spectrum of gravitation by showing its function as a force at both the stellar and interstellar level space field analogies. In all, he can show how gravity works at the interplanetary scale with surface objects, and in the same manner how gravity works in outer space amongst the planets, stars and galaxies. Sound wonderful? It is, and basically all the same force. The first parameters in his gravity theory is to show that a size of an object is just as important as its chemistry or mass, as relativity puts it. In all, it is the size and the mass of a body that defines the account of gravitation between any groups of object masses. In his design, he uses the word size mass to define this aspect in the theory to stop any confusion in his theory, and he will explain why as we go on. Gravity is the activity of smaller size masses upset from being at rest on the surface atmosphere of a planet. Size mass is the measure of the planet's mass based on its size, which sheds dominion over all things or objects within its surface display. Gravity on Earth is the measurable activity between planet surface items in the atmosphere's three-dimensional perimeter. Gravity between other planets is the same activity displayed with planetary surface items' gravitation we see every day here on Earth. The only difference between stellar and interstellar gravity fields is the measure of distance between the items, where in outer space it is gravity that asserts this perimeter. Gravity is what accounts for the separation and distance between planetary bodies in their orbit as well. In space, it is planet's matter energy that warps the perimeter around the object, the planet, that is also addressed in relativity, that acts in link with this new theory on gravitation. Gravity is the inner atomic energy that is displayed in all matter entities, planetary, fabric and or even smaller bits and items loose on a planet's surface. All matter has a physical account of mass and energy called matter energy. It is the display between object size masses that create attraction, dismay and bonding, which in turn creates a specific measure in distance between size masses, as Newton's theory implies. Because like object material energies and or masses energy-wise attract one another, the planetary body is set at a distance dependent of the amount of the planet's energy. As you will read in this book about what invisible force forms the barrier between planetary bodies, you will discover why what are believed to be gravity waves do not exist at the outer realms. But what you will discover is that in the manner of how gravity actually works at the interstellar scale, is that gravity is a perimeter force and not made up of frequency waves between any two spheres and or group of spheres. Gravity is a field force which can usually be considered to act uniformly on the mass of all people and objects in any frame of reference. This assumption is valid when the size of the region being considered is small relative to its distance from the center of mass of the gravitational attractor. The small size of a person relative to the radius of Earth is one such example. In contrast, objects near a black hole are subject to a highly non-uniform gravitational field. Gravitational waves are ripples in the fabric of spacetime itself, where on Earth such ripples do not exist at all, but rather gravity is a force, propagation in the Earth's field atmosphere, according to Isaac Newton 1667. Kovatsky's insight on Earth gravity was circumvented by the impression that in every literature there exists the possibility of doubt, even in advanced physics. His thoughts about space and aspects of the gravity force that applies with the theory gave him the ideas necessary to acclaim victorious with his theories on space. Investigating these facts allowed him to ponder about gravity based on this new enterprise. The ideas of reviewing the facts about space and the interaction of applied physics in the theories he investigated, the forefront of these theories by earlier physicists, and the problems that arose from the later research in this modern age of space exploration. Taking all this into consideration, he investigated the facts that adjoin dark matter and empty space and the toil between every piece and particle and fabric matter that exist in the universe, and discovered that gravity waves do not actually exist. In his research about the gravity force and investigating the microscopic world of matter all the way back and even before the Big Bang, he found out why. He discovered that Newton's foundation, though incredible as it is, lacked the enterprise of updated technology and research data. He also discovered that in Newton's era, particle physics was only a thought of activity not seen by the naked eye, but could be researched by fundamental logic, and that what was known about the heavenly bodies could be physically arranged based on the facts that persisted their foundation. Incredible as it was, Rodney Kovatsky was able to fill in a directive about gravity pursued in the fundamental physics employed by Isaac Newton and rise the directive in the distance between planetary masses in the absence of physical existing gravity waves, impressing the fundamentals of advanced relativity and quantum mechanics to rendering a relevant conclusion about these so-called waves, that through the turmoil of calculating the division between two masses, procurement of the source objects implied the directive of the two masses was based on their independent quantity energy mass, and could be measured in that fashion, that the gravity force applied equally no matter what the size mass of the object, because gravity was a dominated planetary force that applied to all matter within its own single region. But what is so important about his discovery about gravity waves was that there exist no gravity waves at all, but is the object energy of the object's size mass activity polarity increasing and or decreasing due to the presence of a near mass of different size mass quantity and fabric type. The status of this new approach in physics about the gravity force renders its notoriety on discovering why gravity waves have never been detected, but does not render any mathematical indifferences in Newton's theories and logic. It is only that Rodney Kovatsky has concluded that these new facts about the gravity force, which he renders also in his foundation on faster than light speed space travel theory, and act as a fundamental injunction for its explanation, that gravity can be based on the foundation that the energy in all matter acts wave-like, more so at the subatomic scale that matter itself based on the statistics and its origin are the cause for the effect of the gravity force, and is not appalled by an extension of any type of exterior energy waves outside the realm of the size mass itself.
Everything in the universe is weighed on light. Light was debunked when Edwin Hubble discovered the universe.
Rodney Kovatsky, born in Los Angeles, California, studied advanced modern physics for over 10 years, researching his idea about space as a backyard scientist. His idea was that faster than light space travel was possible simply based on weightlessness. It became a lifelong adventure to discover the equations needed to prove this new idea when that day came in 2007. In his first book about the reality of faster than light speed space technology, where everything about faster than light space travel is exhibited based on a loophole he discovered in the literature of special and general relativity theory, that for the purpose of technology and to the reader he expresses his thoughts that space is the beyonder foundation of Earth's future. In quantum physics theory, the gravity force acts on its own and unique standings as a force that tagtails within and underneath all the other four forces as a means to balance the universe. Its finite chemistry is actually the underlying substance between force, mass and acceleration. What you will learn by reading this literature is an introduction of a new way to observe the gravity force and the universe, how it works and exactly what it is. Having studied advanced physics for some apparent 10 years, it has come to my own strategy to explain the force of gravity as a universal force. Like Isaac Newton, the gravity force is an explanation of why things fall back to the surface of this world, as them do, how it affects the planets and their orbit, and the manner of which gravity is, as an invisible force. In this book, I try and answer all of these questions about gravity. I do so to a point which, when you're finished reading this book, you will know the great duration about the gravity force. Like the physicists after Newton, the answer to what and how gravity works and its actual components were a symbol sitting right in front of the observer looking for it, but was as far away as beyond the universe for him or her to finally grasp it. The line between genius and knowledge is weighed against the winds and to which way it will sway and who will forgain its fruit. It is said that that which stands right in front of you is the hardest to grasp and is beyond a person's reach for it. Albert Einstein first worked in America, from a desk at the United States Patent Office as a clerk admitting patents. His work in advanced physics came later, after he researched out on his own, from outside the box, so to speak, researching the nature of light. At the early times of the 20th century, most of classical research was being done by scientists working on the activity of subatomic particles and their nature. The space-age advancement of technology was being performed on light impulse rate and signal communications, and was the manner in which Einstein studied his ambition in science. It really wasn't until after he published his work that modern physics advanced into a new and advanced stage of the science. If it weren't for Albert Einstein, we would still be researching the gravity force within the parameters of Isaac Newton, a genius of his time. But like all things new and of before, new strategies in technology advance before our eyes in what seems as little as no time at all, when finally a new approach to past technology comes into answering the questions left behind within the development. Like in all of humans' nature developments, and even my own, new likenesses come into play from all passages of life which stage travels forwards with the arrow of time, the mechanism of aging and advancing of its ideas, text and knowledge of a time beforehand. As human development is of a continuum, so are the techniques of the universe. What sits before you here now is a research of all the physically available literature that, like some of Einstein's works that were never published at the time finally coming into focus later, that I have physically researched along with the other mentioned physicists of the time that worked on the invisible forces of the cosmos and have concluded with those works a final scientific diagnosis that explains the missing parts of a final theory for the gravity force. Like Newton and Galileo before him all the way till the 20th century when Albert Einstein researched the invisible forces, none of these men could explain exactly and to what degree the gravity force was. Through the concluding scientific works of these people, I believe I have discovered the final building blocks that explain the particle element of the invisible force of gravitation. Explaining how gravity works does not explain the manner of its chemistry, as science literature has told us through the decades. Placing that aside, I have formulated to the best of my knowledge about the force of gravity in this book that explains not only the degree and manner of how gravity works but what it is and the functions of the force that were researched on the brink of this discovery. Outside the confusion of the sciences that gravitation has lessened us with because of its unknown origin about itself, now, all the contradictions can be resolved. The force of the gravity force, how it works and the matter of what it actually is are now here and explained in this book. Past physicists' observations and calculus about the gravity force have been reconciled with a new design, as you will soon discover. Though, scientists like Isaac Newton's work is most compelling, his mathematical assumptions and measurements were unique and noteworthy. It is only that a new picture has been drawn of the gravity force, that its known surface crest object measurements will stay the same. The Quanta Physics Study 2010. Quanta quintessence physics is a study developed by which are based on the facts in Albert Einstein's theory of relativity and acts as an extension to it. As an extension and relative to the factual basis of Einstein's theories, Rodney Kovatsky has been able to develop a new theory. A theory of which does not violate in a total sense relativity, but for the conclusion is a new 20th century theory explains the ability to travel faster than the speed of light in space of which his theories are exhibited from. The facts listed in this new theory are proportional with those in the mathematics of general and special relativity and do not extend to barriers or method of creating some newly type energy field chemistry in the extension. Quanta quintessence, also known under the quantum physics theory, is a design method of space travel which fits into the frameworks of Einstein theory but extends in the design origin of the physical universe that illustrates the physical means in the ability for tomorrow's physicists to travel at speeds that are described as being a superliminal prophecy of space exploration, which until now was thought to be impossible in both theory and logic. Quantum physics is the advanced study of this logic. The quantum physics theory is a developed theory in advanced physics which illustrates a mathematical as well as physical explanation for superliminal space travel in space developed by Professor Rodney Kovatsky of Los Angeles, California of the 22nd century. He researched earlier physics in a tread to develop a new theory which don't violates both special and general relativity developed by Albert Einstein in the late 20th century that was thought to be impossible then. Kovatsky's work derived from a 15-year study of advanced physics maintained a straight drive to forming a theory, which taken literal by the scientific layman refers to open space as an open weightless range of terrain having no denial to speed. To the layman, the outer dark terrain viewed in the dark starry night is actually a terrain of space referred to as an endless range with no barrier to speed relative to space flight except that a subliminal spacecraft would travel straight into the universe's current to travel through time. Yes, and there is a current. The problem is that earlier physicists have yet developed a modern design physics equation for this endless terrain of space. Limited scientific achievement made by Maxwell Planck and Albert Einstein in the late 20th century together rejected the idea that nothing could travel faster than the speed of light. Imposed by Einstein in both special and general relativity sciences, the idea that anything could travel faster than light was impossible, but new developments in these areas of physics have been re-examined. Rodney Kovatsky, over the years of study, has discovered a means hidden behind the framework of Isaac Newton and Albert Einstein's work, which reveals a passage that was never investigated in the early 20th sciences. Relevant to these findings, Kovatsky has been able to develop a mathematical formula for faster-than-light-speed space drive maneuvers. An important fact about theories concerning superliminal speeds is that light assumes a limited velocity as an element. Dealing with superliminal theory, we base the fact that light no more is a physical guideline in measuring of the velocity if light is such an element. As such, the foundation of a sound theory for superliminal space travel is based on new facts relative to the circumstance. Even though this formula violates relativity, one can say that it is relativity whom didn't determine the theory of faster-than-light speed theory and not Kovatsky. For all these reasons, it can now be determined that superliminal theory has been discovered, that its mathematical determination has been developed into a sound formula which does not violate the theory of relativity but is an extension to the formula and is in no means a violation of the study, that by viewing the facts, one can reason that quantum physics theory is a newly developed study on its own foundation.
Anyways, I hope you like my video. I give a little explanation of what the quantum physics theory is. You know, my book is